Welcome to Ask Earl Anything, number 38. Remember, your questions make the show. This week I actually have two questions. One I took from one of the other videos that I did recently, and one from last week's show. So let's jump into the questions. Before I get started with the questions, a couple things. First off, again, I cannot stress how busy life has become for me. Just got my roof done and my screen enclosure back attached to my house and my houses. Houses are fixed up. Work is extremely busy, and I'm working on some projects for work that are got me busy. I just want to say a couple things. First off, I try to get back to everybody on YouTube and on Google Plus and on Facebook and places where people get to me, or even Instagram. But to be honest, I'm not spending a lot of time on social media in the way I used to, and sometimes I get sidetracked. I may see something for a second and I get sidetracked. I apologize if I don't get back to you. Don't ever take anything personally when it comes to these kinds of things. Truthfully, I try to reach out to everybody and I try to stay on top of things, but I'm not as on top of things as I was last year at this time when I was in a different situation with my life. Life right now is busy. It's good. The important things are faith and family and friends in the real world. So I am spending a lot of time in the real world getting to know people, being there for my family, and my faith and what I'm about spiritually is a lot about what takes up my time, and that's what's important. And my work. My work's important. I'm also working on a couple musical projects. I just finished up a project mixing. I'm still working on that album project. I just cut another track last night after work for this album project I'm working on. So I'm pretty busy. I'm not doing as many covers, and I'm not doing as much YouTube as I'd like to. But that's okay. Just everybody have grace for me. I try to have grace for everybody else. I'm also realizing a lot of people are not watching videos these days. I think everybody's feeling a little bit of the drop off, and if some of you that are heavy YouTubers have even told me that you're experiencing some drop off. So I think there's like a waning going on in social media, and we're all getting a little tired of being constantly nailed and hit with ads and constantly being hit with gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta react to this. So I'm finding that social media takes up, I'm just tuning it out lately. Even at night, I used to sit there with my iPad at night and just play on it all night long. I don't anymore. I shut it down like 8 o'clock, sometimes 8:30, and I put it away. So the last hour and a half of my life, I can tune into the TV and just chill out till I go to bed. So I'm changing how I deal with social media. I don't act or react to text messages or Facebook Messenger or Facebook posts or Instagram. I just don't react. I react after the fact. Same thing with YouTube. I react after the fact. So just be aware of that. Okay? It's not that I'm dissing anybody. It's just that life is life and life's important. So I'm trying to expend the time in life, the real life. So let's get to I got two questions today. First question comes from Chur Doi Drama. Now, Chur Doi Drama has been around for quite some time. He's one of my early subscribers. Thank you, Chur. I believe he's from Australia. He likes to do lots of covers, kind of with a Latin tinge. I don't know if he's got a South American thing or a Spanish, from Spain kind of thing. But he does a lot of Latin tinged kind of covers, and he's really good, so you should check him out. Anyhow, he asked, quick question for the next Drum Talk show, maybe. That was from Mike Frazano, by the way. Drum Talk show, maybe. I don't know if you've asked this question before in the past. I noticed you prefer headphones rather than in-ears. I assume you've tried in-ears. Any specific reasons why you prefer headphones? Drum Talk, always a good show, my friend. Thank you. I know he probably just watched one of my, I just did a drum talk on drumsticks, and I plan on doing some more drum talks. Why do I go to headphones versus in-ears? Well, first off, I love in-ear monitors. I love them. I use them in church all the time. Matter of fact, my biggest problem with my in-ear monitors is this. They're delicate. And they're delicate from this perspective. They have to be cared for and put away. If you step on in-ears, they're gone. One day I was rushing at church trying to pack things up, and I've got a case for my in-ears. And I took it and I just kind of shut the case and clamped it down. And then I got to rehearsal at this other church I was playing at. And I opened it up, and my connections to the ears had kind of bent. And I was no longer making connection, and my whole cable was toast. Now I have 1964 ears, or now they're called 64 ears. I have the last version of the 1964s, I believe. They have a replaceable cable. So me being the person I am, be prepared kind of guy, I bought a secondary cable. So that night at rehearsal, when that cable broke, I actually took it apart and put the new cable on. And my ears were fixed. And that cable was toast. That was a $30 cable. So really the reason why I don't use in-ears as much on my videos is because it takes a lot to take them on and off. Now if you look at my headphones, almost every pair of headphones you see me put on, it's got some kind of tape on it and stuff, because headphones don't last either. Now I've had these for probably 10, 15 years almost, these headphones. Definitely long time. These are Sennheiser HD 280 Pros. I had 3 pairs of these, I now have 2 pairs of these. And they are wearing out, okay? Studio headphones get beat up really good, but studio headphones take it easier than in-ears. So you will see me use in-ears when I really want to cover where I want to wear my hat. I'll put the in-ears in. If I want to wear the hat in the video, I've got the in-ears in. Sometimes I just put them in for the heck of it, but I find that the in-ears, I have to dial down the mix a little bit differently too, because the in-ears are in my ear, and I've actually got custom molded in-ears, the kind you go to an audiologist and they make a mold with wax and they pour it in your ear and then they take it out, or rubber mold. Actually it's not wax, it's rubber. It's a rubber mold they make. They pour it in your ears and then they take it out and then they send it to your company where they custom make your ears. So mine only fit me, they don't fit anybody else. I did try the Shure 215s years ago. I didn't like them. I don't know. The early Shures, I didn't have a set of the early Shures, but I used the early Shures early on. One of my first in-ear monitoring experiences with the real old Shures. And they had like a pack on the battery pack too, and I was getting my feed from the board. They had the big hard yellow foam in the ears. They worked better than the little rubbery foam that they use on the E215s these days, the Shure E215s. So the only in-ears that I've really spent a lot of time with are the kind that are molded for my ear. And those work great. So I love those ears, but I just want to protect them. Plus they stay in my bag that goes for travel, so I rarely pull them out unless I want to wear my hat. But headphones, I've been through all kinds of headphones. I've used drum headphones with 30 dB down. This supposedly has 25 dB down on these headphones, but I don't know. I will tell you, headphones should be closed ear, because otherwise the click track that may be going through your ears or the track itself will bleed into the overhead microphones. So you try to have a closed headphone. The HD 280s are great headphones. I've got a pair of the Beyer 770s. Got a pair of I've had every drum headphone there is, probably, just about. Not the best one though. The best one is the Superphones by GK Music, Gordy Knudson's company. Those are probably the best. And there's a company that makes the headphones, the noise reduction headphones for NASCAR and stuff. I think it's something Clark. I can't remember its first name. David Clark headphones, I think they're called. Those are really good. They've got Sony 7506 drivers in them. So does the GK Superphones. So those are the only 2 pairs I haven't bought. I've used, but I haven't bought. But I use the I forget what they're called even. I can't even, I'm trying to look over on my board. I can't. I've had Metrophones. I've had the Vic Firth. I've had all those different phones, the different ones, but they all break. They all break in different ways. So I find just a regular old pair of the Sennheiser 280s, HD 280s work great. I've also used the CAD, I think they're the 310s or the 330s. They're a cheaper headphone, but actually they sound great and they cup over the ears. They're very similar to the old AKG 240s, headphones, which are not closed ear. These are more closed ear than those, but they're not completely closed ear. I think some sound gets out. You really want closed ear for studio work. Anyhow, I said I liked my in-ears, but I don't use them a lot. And my last question comes from Brian Corey, and he said, great session for next week. I know you've been in a lot of rock bands and you consider yourself a rock drummer, but how many jazz bands have you been in, if any? And can you just describe what kind of swing you are playing in your experience? Okay. Great question, Brian. Thank you for the question. I do appreciate you asking questions. You're one of the guys that asks a lot of questions, and I do appreciate that. And thank you for following me. Really do appreciate that. All right. I've played in a few jazz bands. I've done some big band playing. I've talked a little bit about that back in my past. A couple rehearsal band things. But recent years, I've played a few gigs with a couple people in town here. One was a woman named Angela. I actually played on her CD in 2007, and then the one she released in 2011. I played on some of that CD. It was produced by a friend of mine, Ari Mendez, who's a Brazilian musician. He now lives in Boston. He had a studio in Stewart, and we did some gigs together in a casino out here in Florida, in Immokalee, Florida. It's kind of near Naples. It's kind of in the west side of Florida. So we did a couple gigs out there, a couple weekend gigs there. That was interesting. I played with the guy who produced my wife's album, Jim Pattison, and another guitar player, and we did a couple jazz gigs together back in Coral Springs. I don't play a lot of jazz, I don't really get to play it. I like to play it. There's not a lot of great jazz players out here. A lot of my swing playing, brush playing stuff came from doing weddings and club dates back in the 80s and 90s when I was then, you had to play 40s music, so you were playing like In the Mood and New York, and we would do some ballads. My wife would sing Linda Ronstadt ballads like I've Got a Crush on You and some show tunes and things like that. So I started picking up my jazz playing from playing weddings and club dates. But I also played a few, jazz ensemble things. I've done a couple big band gigs, some rehearsal bands where you're reading. So that's why I don't consider myself a jazz musician. I've been in more rock bands than I've been in jazz ensembles, if you know what I mean. Jazz is a very open term, just like rock is a very open term. And truthfully, jazz could mean playing 40s swing to progressive, bebop jazz or past bebop jazz. I mean, today, I like listening to jazz from all different spheres. I like listening to old Miles Davis and Dave Brubeck. I like listening to fusion, Mahavishnu. I love Weather Report. But I love watching some of the new stuff I find on YouTube, like with Peter Erskine playing with a big band, or Vinnie Colaiuta playing with a big band, or there's like a European big band, the WDR big band, and a lot of artists go play with them. I've seen Steve Smith, Peter Erskine, a bunch of guys. And then there's bands out there that have been around forever, like Chick Corea, Steps Ahead, and that's lots of different jazz. Then you got groups like Snarky Puppy, which are jazz, or Mark Juliana, or some of the people that Mark Giuliano's played with. There's this one girl singer, and I'm forgetting her name right now, but she's really good. There's some really great jazz out there. Jazz players that I love to listen to include guys like Bill Stewart. I mean, I saw Bill Stewart at the Village Vanguard a few years back. That was a lot of fun in New York City. So there's a lot of jazz out there, a lot of things to listen to. I try to listen to lots of different types of music. Jazz is one of them. But I haven't played enough of it to consider myself a master. You see my jazz covers, and I do like more the swing style of jazz than bebop style of jazz, and I really like the big band style of jazz too. We were playing with reading charts and all that stuff, but I've played in combos too. So hope that answers the question. Anyhow, that's it for Ask Earl Anything, number 38. Another show. Please like and subscribe. By the way, leaving the likes up. You know, I've heard it from a couple of my friends. They say likes or dislikes doesn't really matter. It's all good. So that's where I'm living now. But anyhow, thank you for watching. Please ask questions. I almost didn't have a show this week. I wasn't sure I had a show. You know, Brian did leave one question, so I had Brian's question, but sure, added one with the headphones, so I had two. And two's good. You know, I don't care if I do 15 minutes, 20 minutes on this show. That's great. I'm just trying to communicate with you guys. So your questions make the show. The more questions I have, the longer the show goes. I thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. Have a great day. Bye.